Welcome to another episode of the podcast. So, hopefully this volume comes through okay because I forgot to bring my podcast mic down with me on this little trip. So, as you're coming in, it'd be good if you can just let us know that this sound is coming through the podcast okay. So guys, when you do come in, let us know in the comments that you are watching so that I can address you personally during and before the podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are. We're going to get this episode started very, very shortly. Now look at my kings coming into the academy. So good. Nikki, Jage, Bobby, can you just confirm that the sound is okay on this microphone, mate? Guys and girls. Hey Tara, good morning. How are you? Yep, it's okay. Jackie, you can call me Jade. Perfect. I love it. We're going to start this episode in 2 minutes, guys, okay? All right, so who we got in here? So we got Jage, we got Tara's in here. Tara, I love that you are firing up. Now, as normal, guys, my beautiful wife is doing everything she possibly can to be as noisy in the background. So I'll quietly say, Cords, can you please quieten down? That'd be lovely. Like it's before the podcast actually gets started. Danny Peterson, good morning, my brother. How are you, mate? Guys, now I'm guessing it is the lovely ladies coming in from the US. Can you click that stream, that's the link above that says Restream, so I can actually see who you are. So what that is a link that allows me to display who this is on the actual feed. Okay, that'd be great if you could. So it just takes one thing. It says Restream, so you just need to click that link and that'd be perfect. Cords, darling, can you stop because it's really loud? Lovely. All right, who we got here? So, Jodes, how are you, girl? Good to see you in here as well. Tez is in here. We got Coach Carl's in here. Hey, Pam, you're starting to become very, very consistent, by the way, Pam. I love it. How good. Jackie, don't worry about the autocorrect, Jackie. I go by Jade as a sidebar, so that's all very well and good. Georgie Cowper, my old friend, mate. How are you? So good. So, guys and girls, we're going to start this episode in one moment. So, see here where we've got sound is good. Hello, Jace, USA. So just click that link above that says Restream if you can in the description, guys, and it will allow me to display your name. If it doesn't work, guys, that's okay. We'll just play a guessing game and I can catch up later on. Good morning, Ez. How are you? Guys, how's your week been? Let us know in the comments how your week's been. We're going to be starting this episode in 30 seconds, and it's going to be a big one, directed mostly at our Better Body Academy crew. So if you are coming in and watching this one live, guys, thanks very much for joining me. We're going to get started, I think. So let's do this. I think we're all ready to go. Jay says consistent. Yeah, 100%. It's consistency, not intensity, that we need to worry about, right? You hit the nail on the head, Jage. All right, I think we are good to go. Thanks for helping with the sound, guys. Like I said, I'm using a lapel mic here today because I forgot my podcast mic, so it's a little bit weird, but hopefully everything comes through all right. So let's get started in this episode. All right, let's go. On the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. Now, today's episode may be a little bit controversial, but as I told you guys in a very recent episode, I'm going to start shooting what I believe to be the truth. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about my opinion, which is why one-on-one coaching is not good. Okay? Firstly, what I want to do, now this podcast goes both inside of our groups, the Better Body Academy groups, and to the public. So what I do want to do is warmly welcome all of our beautiful ladies from the USA who have recently joined our Women's Academy program. We just feel really privileged to have you guys coming in, especially off the back of Holes coming over into our coaching academy. So I just want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. we refer to our women in our Women's Academy as warrior women. And that's kind of like this image that we've created about women of all different colours and kinds and sizes and ages that have been emblazoned with an armour comprised of the tools and the support that they're getting inside of BBA. And I kind of have this like crazy image of like walking out of the fire and warrior women. So if I call you guys warriors, that's the reason why. So guys, today we're going to have a conversation around why I believe that group coaching is 100% the best ever vehicle for creating transformations that change people's lives. I always wanted to do a podcast on this, and the reason that I'm doing the podcast on it now is obviously with so many of you ladies joining our academy, I thought that it was the right time to address this because there are slightly different differences between what Holly did as a coach in her own academy and then what we do in Better Body Academy. Our beliefs are absolutely the same, but some of the vehicles are slightly different. So this is also going to have an extra dimension, this conversation, on why group coaching is so much better than one-on-one in person and online as well. Okay, does this make sense? So this episode I think is going to be really, really helpful to clients that are transitioning over into BBA and understanding why this is an excellent move. And to all of you ladies that are in our Women's Academy from the US, Holes and I will be catching up with you guys in a Zoom call, likely tomorrow. We can answer any questions that you guys have got and we are going to get stuck in. Okay, so to frame up this discussion, I want to make sure that we identify what I see as the 4 different types of programming that are possible, okay, as a client. You can have one-on-one in person, you can have one-on-one online, you can have group in person, and you can have group online. So the parameters are, is the program that you're doing, is it in person or is it online? And is it predominantly one-on-one or is it predominantly group? Now look guys, I'm perfectly qualified to be able to do this episode as I've got experience as a coach in all of these different forms. When I first started as a qualified dietitian, online wasn't even a thing. And the closest thing to it was like picking up one of these and having a cell phone call to individual clients and checking in on them. For the most part, it was kind of reactive in a way because clients are going along doing their thing and then something goes wrong and they call you and say, I need help with this one thing. My first exposure to group coaching was when I joined a company that did corporate weight loss programs. So we used to go out to mining companies and help guys and girls with weight loss. The difference between doing individual and one-on-one was early on in my career taught me so much about the power of community. Community in a transformation is everything. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. In the group format, we were able to start giving people the tools that they needed, but the problem that I saw was that it was kind of limited to an hour. So I want you to think about your experience as clients inside a Better Body Academy, particularly if you've been around for a while. There's no time limit. There's no like, I've got an hour with this person and then I have to go home. That was the case in-person coaching. People had to go home at a certain time. Now, the advent of things like Skype and Zoom solved that partly, right? Because people didn't have to go to their coach. They could do it from anywhere. It was convenient. But there was still one piece missing. As the coach, you could only really ever cover, a singular thing in a session. So this meant that effectively when the session stops, so does the learning. Online group programs have changed everything, and I'm going to go through the reasons why I believe that they are the most powerful vehicle known to men and women for that matter for change. In order to have this discussion, guys and girls, I think you need to have an open mind. And what I mean by this is be open to the idea that what you are doing, if you're not inside the academy or you're new inside the academy, what you have been doing, there is a more effective and efficient way to do it. Truly listen to what I'm saying here. What I'm trying to give you is a mindset shift, and that's hard. Listen up why. Because humans have this tendency towards what's called confirmation bias. We decide what is real, and then we look for evidence to support what we believe to be the truth. The better way to go about it is to listen to what the arguments are, and here I want to have a conversation around what's better out of online group, in-person group, online one-on-one, or in-person one-on-one. And if we could pull apart, I feel like when you take a step back from this and listen to the reasons, you'll be convinced that online group coaching is the only way to go. In fact, give us a show of hands in the comments. If you were watching this one live, if I asked a group of women or a group of men inside the academy, what do you love most about BBA, about our Better Body Academy? I would love for the answer to be, oh, Jace is such a great coach, and Carl's is such a great coach, and Nikki's such a great coach, and for all the coaches, that's the reason. But the truth is, I believe that the response would be that the thing that I love the most is the group. I love the fact that the group or the community is always here for me. Let me know in the comments, guys. For those of you that are watching live, you might love your coaches, you might love your gym programs, but am I actually correct? Am I actually correct? Like, let's blow this chat up. Am I correct in thinking that the actual most powerful thing about this program is the community? Like, let me know in the comments. Carl says our tribe. Terry says the community. Is anyone in disagreement with this? So let's first talk about one-on-one coaching. Out of the 4 types of coaching, I really just want to put a line through what I believe are the 2 worst types of coaching, both for the client and the coach, either one-on-one in person or one-on-one online. And in a moment, I'm going to pull this apart. Let's talk about in-person group coaching. In my opinion, there's actually a definite place for in-person group coaching. What I mean by in-person group coaching is anything that is from gym circuits or classes to CrossFit and even corporate health programs. While they might be limited by time because you have to go home at some certain point and you have to physically be there, you get the benefit of the community. And for me, this is the biggest change agent. And I know a lot of you ladies particularly love doing circuit classes. And I think that circuit classes, as an example, are an excellent way to step between training at home, which is boring, to getting into a gym and doing resistance training, which is the training that's going to have the biggest impact on your fat loss goals. I think circuit training is a really good step between. So in that case, personal, in-person group coaching, I think, is good. Let's talk about now why I believe that online group coaching is king. First, I think we've got to discuss the initial concerns that might come up for people that come into an online group program. And feel free to raise any concerns that you've got in the comments. I think the concerns that people may have in joining a group program is, well, I get less of the coach. Does that make sense? I get less of the coach because it's diluted or it's watered down. I think there are some tremendous trainers and coaches out there, and it's natural that if we think, I can get this coach all to myself, I'll transform quicker. And then I think people think that it's less valuable at the start in a group versus one-on-one. If I have to share my coach, that means I'm going to get less value, right? Or maybe it's that it's less personal, for example. Another concern might be, for example, to the ladies coming into our BBA Academy from the US and Hole's program. It could be that, well, what if my individual circumstances don't fit? One of the questions that obviously has come up is on our meal plan, which lasts for the first 4 weeks only before we move into what we call the freedom eating formula, is like, there's kangaroo on this meal plan, right? We don't get roux in the US, Canada, or the UK. And guess what? It's a pretty easy substitution. And we can talk about that all tomorrow. And I think the final concern, and probably the biggest concern, is, but I'm worried about sharing. Like, I'm not a Facebook person, and I'm kind of not okay with openly sharing. It worries me. And these are reasonable concerns. All right, I would say these are reasonable concerns. And I'm going to go over these answers next. Group programs have multiple coaches. So let's talk about the benefits. I'm going to now hammer why I believe online group coaching is the thing. Firstly, group programs have multiple coach voices. It's always true that you're going to gel with certain personalities in life more than others. That's because there's so many different personality types. If you are listening to this podcast for more than the first or second time, it's probably because you're attracted to my straight talking style. But if you're not, and let's just say you hate swearing, for example, well, I swear a bit, and you're going to be turned off by that. But then there are other coaches inside of our academy that they would never swear. Coach Cordia would never swear. And that's the difference. You get different voices inside of the one coaching program. No doubt people have turned this podcast off because they don't vibe with my style, and that's okay. The beautiful part of a group coaching program is having multiple programs. You find the person that gels with you the most, and you can, of course, follow all of their stuff and get involved mostly with their lives and their Q&As. It's also nice to have variation, right? It's nice to keep things fresh, to know that you might hear from me one day, Holly the next, Nikki the next, Cordia the next, Mike the next, Carl's the next, and any other coaches that we bring into the program. That variation is inherently nice. You don't get that from one-on-one coaching. Let's talk about group programs having coaches with different spheres of expertise. I think this is so important. You might have been brought into the program by one coach and quickly realize that you have a commonality in what you're suffering from with another coach, be it depression, for example, or anxiety. And so you might, for example, be brought in to BBA by myself, as is the case with one of our clients, Nikki Cockley. She was brought in by myself because her partner is Jeff, who is one of my clients. But inside of BBA, she found Coach Nikki, who is in the UK, who suffers from the same condition that she does, which is PCOS. So if she didn't come into contact with Nikki, who, by the way, has lost 100 pounds, Coach Nikki, and completely solved or cured her PCOS, perhaps Nikki Cockley, Nikki the client, wouldn't have had the opportunity to solve her PCOS, which, by the way, she has done. And that's only been made possible by the fact that they met in a group coaching program. If Nikki had have just signed up with me and been with me, she would have not got exposure to the other skill sets within our one group. Does this make sense? Next up is a benefit. I think gaining tools on a range of different topics is really, really important. I think that if you look at the skill sets of any one coach, they're generally not going to be strong in everything because they've come from a certain background. So you take from me, for example, I've come from a university degree in nutrition. So I'm strong in nutrition and mindset. And so what we're going to look to do is bring in a male coach that's really strong with PT and technical. That's an example. There's a lot of great coaches out there that are struggling to make an impact in the world because they're just speaking to clients one-on-one and repeating the same thing over and over again, working 12-hour days that look something like this, get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, work for 4 hours back to back, have the middle of the day off because everyone's at work, and then have to work till 9 o'clock at night with clients. The coach eventually burns out. And actually what ends up happening is some coaches are the biggest mindset wrecks of the lot, far worse than their actual clients, because they spend their days having all the energy sucked from them. And by the time they actually come to coaching, there's nothing left. So they have to quit and give up. The turnover in coaching is so high for this exact reason. In a team game, we meet up numerous times a week of coaches, and we're able to recharge our game and show up for you guys as our best self, and we will continue to do that. We've able to run workshops around a variety of different topics, from mindset to training to lifting to lifestyle overall, to nutrition, to technical breakdowns of things, because we've got the collateral between us, this collective coaching. This is the importance. Let's also talk about the benefits of getting support around multiple time zones, both from coaches and communities. I think this idea that people work on a 9 to 5 kind of roster is very, very outdated. Like, I don't know how many of you here leave work at go to work at 9 o'clock and then come home at 5 o'clock and it's neat and tidy. In the changing landscape of the employment world, that's just not how it works. So let's say that you were to join Coach Holly and you work night shift, for example. Well, because Holly obviously needs to sleep at some point in her life, you try to contact her at the end of your shift at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're not likely going to get help for another 8 hours, by which that time you're probably already asleep. However, that's when our UK and Aussie coaches are most active, because it's the start or the middle of our day. And you're going to get a response off Carl's or Cord's or Mike or Jace or Nick quicker than having to wait all the way around again for Holes to get back to you. Not only that, but you're going to be surrounded by men and women from around the world, and it's likely that you can put a post up into the group asking a specific question and get it answered far quicker than what a coach is going to be able to come back to you working one-on-one. And I should point out that in a one-on-one situation, for example, where you're getting one-on-one personal training, for you to get the answer outside of hours, you're going to have to wait until you pay for the next session. That seems inhibitory to me. I want to also address the idea that one benefit is becoming aware of challenges that you may be facing and how to solve them through the experience of the collective. Let's do some maths, and I want you to work with me in this. In an academy that has, let's just take our women's academy, that has 180 women currently. Let's say the average age of those 180 women, of course it's range, but let's just pick a number and say it's 40 years old. If you take 180 women and multiply that by 40 years old, you get 7,200 years of life experience. 7,200 years of life experience. And so, if we then compare that to you as a 40-year-old woman as an example, and your coach that's maybe 40, collective life experience, 80 years. Or 7,120 years less of life experience. If you think your coach has all the answers to all of the questions in existence, you cray-cray. In contrast, if you are struggling with something, let's just say it's a hormonal thing or a specific intolerance that you've got, or even if you're just struggling generally, would you agree, let me know in the comments, would you agree that the collective of 7,200 years of life experience is going to be more able to comprehensively solve your challenge than 80 years of life experience? I think it's a resounding yes. Now let's talk about the community support when you're in a struggling patch. This flows nicely into the idea that sometimes we just hit a patch. If we think that our transformation is going to be smooth and without failure, we're in for it. It's never going to be like that. Most often we try to get things done on our own, but it's actually the root of the problem is that we try to do things ourselves. The best way to get accountability is to be accountable. And if you're struggling, leaning into the community in a group program is almost the equivalent of walking a tightrope and having 100 people underneath you ready to catch you, instead of one very strong person that's going to be, oh shit, she's going to drop, he's going to drop. The support network that's created under you by a group coaching program, if you embed yourself this, is unrivaled. More than one person sharing your wins with. Let's talk about this. Imagine you lost 10 or 20 pounds and that was your goal. You're in a one-on-one program and you've just hit your goal. And you say to your coach, hey, I just hit my 10 kilos or my 22 pounds. How good's that? And you celebrate and it's kind of like, okay, cool. What about the idea of celebrating with 100 other people? In the real world, most people even the closest friends and family in our life try to pull us down. It's a very, very sad fact, but most of us simply don't have a network. Am I correct or not? That really supports us and picks us up and recharges us. We call this the crabs in the bucket analogy. You're like a crab in the bucket that has decided you want to transform, so you climb to the top of the pile and you try to make your escape. But what ends up happening is all the crabs in the buckets pull you back down because you're threatening to leave your old circumstances. And the others pull you back in. It's a sad way the world works, but that's the truth of it. But in a group coaching program, we have a no dickhead policy. Anyone who's a dickhead, which is an affectionate Aussie term, would be kicked out. In fact, those crabs all of a sudden turn into your personal cheer squad. And the more that you document your journey and celebrate your wins and post your struggles, actually what ends up happening is you create greater motivation because you understand that every time that you lean into the community, you're going to have people supporting you. And I think this is absolutely powerful. Now, I'm going to finish off on what I believe to be the last and most important benefit of group coaching online versus all of the other types. And I want you to listen up because this is important. If you truly understand this idea, things are going to change for you and you're going to have this massive mindset shift. If the goal is for you to truly change, you need to learn to do this for yourself, right? For me, this is the number one and most compelling reason. Why are you actually doing a transformation? Whether it's a transformation of your finances, your relationship, your body, your mindset, doesn't matter what it is. You're doing it so that you can get the tools and the support to solve it forever, right? Not just till the end of the month or the end of the year. My strong opinion is that one-on-one coaching enables dependency. I'm going to say that again. One-on-one coaching enables dependency and therefore keeps you stuck. Let me explain. When you were a kid and you wanted a cookie from the cookie jar, but you're not strong enough to open the cookie jar, what do? You grab the cookie jar and you reach up to mum or dad and ask them to open it for you. And once they've opened it for you, you realize that you don't really have to do too much work because mum and dad are always there to open your cookie jar. Well, I want to pose an idea to you. If you're now an adult and you're constantly reaching up to mum and dad, that is your coach, to open your jar for you, what incentive is there to actually truly solve this yourself? Zero. Another analogy perhaps is one-on-one coaching for me is the equivalent of putting a baby in the pool that can kind of swim and then relying on mum and dad to keep an anxious eye on making sure the baby doesn't sink. All the pressure is on mum and dad. Group coaching is like putting the same baby in the pool with other babies, some that can swim, some that can't yet, only this time you're giving your baby a pair of floaties. Sure, he might splutter and splurt a bit, but the baby ain't sinking. She's got her floaties on, and mum and dad don't need to be consciously and anxiously worried about her sinking all the time. Instead, it's measured. We know that she's safe, and if she continues to lean into the group, things are going to be fine. And don't worry, if all of this you're still a little bit kind of, yeah, okay, cool, I just want you to know, you can still talk to your coach in a group online program. One thing that we've started doing more of is a live coaching call where one of our clients has a challenge and they send it through the success team and they say, I really want help with this thing. And then we'll say, hey, cool, let's do it. If it's not deeply personal, do you mind if we stream this back into the group? It's a closed group. We stream it back into the group. We have a conversation and two things happen as a result of that live coaching call. Number one, the person gets out of their comfort zone. They talk about their challenges, they open up and they bring the walls down and they get their challenge solved. The second thing is everyone in that group that decides to join the live coaching call realizes, I suffer with that same thing as well. I resonate in what Christy says, or I understand in what Nathan says. And so everyone benefits. And if it's something that's deeply personal, of course we're not going to stream it into the group. And we would ask for that beforehand. Another suggestion I have is that you join our team huddles when we announce them every 2 to 3 weeks. They are the perfect way to use the power of community to overcome your struggles. Now, I'm going to wrap this podcast up. The caveat to all of this, guys, whether you are in the men's academy or the women's academy, is that for change to occur, you need to learn to be a bit more vulnerable. If you have all of your walls up and you are not willing to share, and you say, yeah, Jason, I understand everything you said there, but I'm still not willing to share. Well, I can just tell you, frankly, doesn't matter the type of vehicle you use, you're not going to be successful. There is no one person in the world that changed their circumstances by keeping the walls up. You're going to be trapped in this box forever because you're stuck. What we need to be able to do is lean in, trust the process, realize actually that you're just like every other man and woman, a work in progress. We're all a mess. We're all trying to figure it out. And success comes by being willing to move forward and keep pressing reset. We understand, of course, that change is change. Any type of change, any little adjustment is hard to get used to at the start. And don't worry, to all of our ladies in the US, we're not going to need to ship you over kangaroo. You can have venison or bison or alligator or chicken or lamb, pork, fish. It really doesn't actually matter that much. And if fasting is not your vibe, it does not matter because fasting's not magic. It's just a calorie control tool. There's a bunch of other calorie control tools and we will teach you those tools. If you are in a calorie deficit and weight loss is your goal, weight loss is going to happen. I found one brilliant quote that I'm going to finish this episode off with, and I think it's fantastic. The only way we can live is if we grow. The only way we grow is if we change. The only way we can change is if we learn. The only way we learn is if we are exposed. And the only way we get exposed is if we throw ourselves out into the open. Do it. Throw yourself in. To the ladies that have joined our academy from the US, I want to say again, I warmly welcome you beautiful women, now warrior women, into our academy. You and Holly are going to find your home here with us. And of course, if you're struggling with anything, we'll always be willing, at worst case scenario, to jump on the phone and have a chat, because that's what coaches do. They make themselves available. Guys, that's enough for today. This has been the Better Body Academy podcast, the podcast that you come to when you're sick of the dumb diets, the unsustainable workout programs, and trying to solve your challenges on a one-to-one basis. Let's learn to open our own jars. I'll see you guys in the next episode.